Us in studio to share more on how you can help save these iconic species. Stephen, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you.
Thank you very much for having me, Bill.
Stephen, it's less than 6 weeks into the new year and we're already seeing reports of about 36 rhino horns being poached. That's worth about 23 million. Not a great way to start the year.
Definitely not. And the point that we're trying to get across is that we have to offer an alternative, both locally and internationally in the markets where they're destined for. People have been using rhino horn for certain uses for millennia almost, and unless we offer an alternative to that, we won't see a difference.
And whose responsibility is it to offer that alternative? I mean, Asian countries have their own beliefs as much as the many diverse cultures here in South Africa have their own beliefs. Are their governments even buying into the idea that rhino horn does not have medicinal properties? Or that there's an alternative? Because for so long, that's been the belief.
Most important is that people move past the point of a particular group, a particular country, a particular nation being responsible. Domestically, where we do have the rhino, wherever we've seen cases where there has been isolated efforts to combat poaching, it's been difficult, and the successes didn't always follow. It needs a comprehensive and an integrated approach. One of the ways that we see is to get people from the countries where the rhino horn is destined for to come see in South Africa, in Africa, what rhino do for people, what rhino do for the environment, and that would, over a period of time, gradually reduce the demand for rhino horn in those countries.
All right, so it's just about rebranding what the rhino horn means and, preserving, of course, our conservation. On record, it seems that there's been a decline in the Kruger Conservancy area specifically. How did that come about? The
biggest impact was caused by our justice system that was able to catch up with the severity of rhino poaching. What a lot of people don't understand, it's not isolated. Rhino poaching is not in itself a thing, it's a symptom. And it's a symptom in many different ways. The syndicates that are involved with rhino poaching are not only involved in the smuggling of rhino horn, and they will often also get engaged in motor vehicle theft, hijackings, drug smuggling, etc. So the justice system needed to get accustomed to the fact that a rhino horn doesn't just stand for a rhino horn, it might result in several other crimes. And in the last 2 years, we have seen much more severe penalties being awarded by the courts where poachers has been caught. And that has served as a deterrent. Together with that, the integrated approach that I referred to. If you go back a couple of years, very good people did very good work, but it was independent. The intelligence wasn't shared as it is shared now. And the combined anti-poaching effort has just become so much more effective due to that.
All right, and just for interest's sake, do you have the numbers in terms of how many white rhinos and how many black rhinos remain in captivity in South Africa?
The sad reality is that, in a way, all rhino are in captivity due to habitat loss, albeit in very large areas. Kruger National Park is one of the last strongholds of rhino, but those rhino can't move willingly and freely where they want to go. So technically speaking, all rhino are in captivity. In terms of rhino that is in smaller enclosures, in a zoo-like situation, those numbers vary, and I don't have exact numbers for that.
All right. Trying to crack down on these rhino smuggling syndicates must be, quite a mammoth task. What other conservation organizations or agencies have been involved in sending out the communication, in trying to crack down on these criminals, and trying to just change the perception that people have about these precious animals?
That touches on an area where I am involved with. I'm not directly involved with anti-poaching. There's incredibly brave people that I take my hat off to that risk their lives on a daily basis to look after our rhino. We believe that there's a bigger issue at play here. Let's leave the guys that are specialists at what they do to look after the rhino on a day-to-day basis, and the rest of us can contribute in our own way. We are involved in the marketing of tourism conservation product. So what we do is we try to get people to come look at the rhino, and not only the rhino, everything else. That in its part plays a very important role to generate money, and the money then at the end of the day gets utilized downstream to look after the rhino.
And of course the education behind it is an important component.
That's probably the most important part. Us as a company, what we do, we take children on safari and show them, people from communities, rural communities that would have never otherwise had the opportunity, and show them what a rhino looks like in the wild. And each one of those kids become an ambassador for rhino. So sometime in the future, if they do, their path does cross that of a poacher, we've got an ally against poaching.
Oh, that's amazing work. Stephen, thank you so much for your time and coming on the program to share all this positive work that you guys are doing, trying to conserve and preserve the precious rhino. Thank you 100%. So much. That by educating yourself and your communities, you can help dismiss the myth that rhino horns have magical properties. That was conservation tourism expert Stephen van der Merwe just sharing with us the official notes in terms of the efforts that are being put behind to show rather a positive trend, a year-on-year decline in rhino poaching around the Greater Kruger Conservancy area. Do stay with us here on Morning Live. We have a great performance coming up next.